Are you shying away from decorating on sublimated apparel because of dye migration? On this episode, we're going to show you some cool decorating options to keep your prints looking clean and dye migration free. Welcome everyone to another episode of Decoration Mess. Stephen Bear from S&S Activewear, joined with Josh Ellsworth from STAHLS. So today we have a challenge, and this is heat transfers and discoloration. So Josh, we're going to look at some stuff. People want to know about heat transfers and the bleed, dye migration. So I thought, you put some stuff together to kind of look at some traditional transfers. And then we're going to move into more challenging, like with sublimated product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really to crack this, we need to have a correct definition of the terminology so we can approach the blanks with confidence and know exactly what we're dealing with and where there is increased risk of bleeding, migration, whatever you want to call it, right? And so I want to start by just clarifying one thing, and that opacity is really the graphic staying its true colors when it's applied. And so there can be transfers that are so thin, or screen printing that's so thin that doesn't have good opacity. So when you print white on even a black t-shirt, you start to get a little bit of that grayness to the white, a little bit of that show through. And so we're not really talking about opacity here. Opacity should be built into any transfer where you can decorate confidently, but we are talking about bleeding and dye migration, which typically shows up more on our synthetic fabrics, 100% polyester, etc. And so talking about bleeding and dye migration, let's take a look at a couple pieces. I love these two pieces because it really shows in a similar style the differences between what we're working with. And so first, the Paragon styles. This particular one is just a traditional dyed polyester. I can figure that out because when I look inside of the blank, generally speaking, the inside color of the blank is the same as the outside color of the blank, right? So that's a traditional dyed polyester. That's an important distinction versus a sublimated polyester. And so this style in the Paragon piece is actually a sublimated polyester because we start to see either a pattern or a different color, whatever it may be, that is different on the outside of the shirt than what's on the inside of the shirt, right? And so the process to manufacture this piece or the other piece that we're going to decorate today, where we see the same thing, we see a pattern and we see the inside of the shirt being a different color. The process is dye sublimation. And typically that happens in the actual manufacturing of the piece, where we are completing this process where we are heating up ink, special sublimation ink, to a certain temperature where it turns into a gas and actually penetrates the polyester fibers that open up, okay? And so what allows it to do that is reaching a certain temperature or heat. It's great, looks beautiful. People love to wear the patterns in these pieces, but it presents a major challenge for decorators, especially decorators that are heat pressing it or running it through a screen printing dryer, or let's be honest, even leaving it in the windshield of a hot car on a 100-degree day. You can reactivate those sublimated dyes and they can start to want to come through as a gas again through the print that you've decorated the apparel with. And so today, we're going to decorate some traditional polyesters that may have some bleeding concerns, but we're going to decorate some sublimated polyesters and help you understand the different options out there in heat transfers.
I love it.
So you want to get started with the most basic one and we'll go from there?
Absolutely. We got some great products here, so let's get into it.
All right, we're going to set up at the heat press and go from there.
So this is the Paragon 210 long sleeve microfiber performance fabric, right? 100% poly. So, this shirt's unique in the sense that it's really loaded. It's UPF 50 plus, it's antimicrobial, snag resistant. It's a fishing shirt. So it also has a lot of other uses too, right? It's being used in team. It's being used as a uniform because of its features. So Paragon's a really unique line, but I'll let you jump into here. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so the piece is really easy to decorate, and that's why I wanted to start with easy, because first off, when you're talking about bleeding or migration, when you're decorating a poly, one way to conquer it is by using a darker design color on a lighter fabric. it completely mitigates the risk of any bleed through or migration. In this case, we did a tonal variety, right? And so that's
Very cool.
one confident way to approach this. Now, this is a heat transfer vinyl, it's generically called, but really it's a polyurethane film.
Okay.
And the reason I explain the composition of it is because polyurethane in and of itself does not have any bleed blocking or dye blocking capabilities. Going to be perfect for this shirt because I'm not too worried about bleeding because I've picked a darker design color than my print. And so I wanted to show you that there are lots of options depending on when you're setting up your customer's artwork in the design, where we can just go darker on the decoration, use a standard heat transfer, and be able to accommodate these fabrics, especially the ones that aren't sublimated confidently. We just print, peel.
That's nice. A little sticky there, but we got it done.
And we have the completed result. So this is our Premium Plus heat transfer film.
Cool.
So has that stretch and recovery with it, feels soft. You're not going to have any dye migration. Great. Now, I wanted to do this because really, if I were to use that same film, that same Premium Plus or standard polyurethane film on this sublimated fabric, I would run into issues. And again, that's because the sublimated dyes are going to want to bleed through the print when heated. And so sometimes that shows up instantaneously when you press your graphic, but usually it shows up days after the fact. And so don't think because it's on there and it looks great going out the door that it's going to stay that way. We really need to take the proper care when we're decorating these fabrics. And so how we're going to address that is feel this one. It's quite a bit thicker.
Oh, wow.
But the composition is silicone. And so this is pretty unique for a heat transfer. You often see this on like the badges and the brand logos on your apparel, but having a silicone material that you can either process on a vinyl cutter or order as a transfer. Silicone naturally addresses our bleeding and dye migration issue. And it does it in a unique way by actually allowing the dyes to pass through over time and then dissipate. And so this silicone color, even when printed on the sublimated pattern, the light blue is going to stay light blue. You're not going to have that pattern kind of bleeding through and showing through the graphic.
Great.
And so we'll position this into place. I'm going to put it here on a left chest placement. You can see it's overlapping the sublimated pattern a bit here.
And again, what you're doing there is you're measuring, because that's your measuring technique on where it should be placed.
Yeah, so I just pinch top shoulder, run a center line about 6 to 7 inches down on a standard, adult size
I'm picking up on all the tips.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's easy. And here's another tip. When you're decorating sublimated fabrics, if I were just to lock this down, what's going to happen is this pattern is going to transfer to my heater, which means when I load the next shirt on, that pattern's going to transfer to the next shirt. And so you really want to be operating with a cover sheet and a disposable cover sheet on this. So something inexpensive like craft paper, or a lot of people even use just butcher paper off the shelf. And you're going to cover your design that way. And that way it protects the heater from the pattern bleeding up through, and you get that advantage on it. Wow. So 12 seconds. Talk to me about this style a little bit.
So this is the Cabo camo. And so, it's a camo pattern, but it's Cabo camo, right? So again, in Paragon's offering, this is UPF 50. And the beauty of Paragon is it's on water and in off water. So these fishing shirts have really become a lifestyle shirt as well. They fit, they're regular fit, so it's very forgiving. And Paragon's got a full line of these in long sleeve, short sleeve. So a lot to choose from, but it's hitting a lot of different industries. It's going into team, it's going into uniforming because they need that sun protection. Coaches love it because again, UPF 50 is the name of the game, especially this time of year.
Yeah, right? And you look at it, right, and you may think on water, but we intentionally decorate it with an athletic number because team dealers are loving this look. Patterns are very popular in athletics, so this is a piece that you can use across many different market verticals. And as long as you have the right heat transfer product, you can decorate it confidently. So this is, again, the silicone. You'll notice I waited to peel because this is a cold peel. So I let it cool completely down, and then I'll simply grab the corner of the transfer and we'll remove it away, right? And so it's a really nice smooth release.
Clean.
And you have, the silicone also gives you kind of that rubbery texture to it. So you get that athletic look, that athletic feel, and you actually get stretch and recovery. as well with the silicone. So really nice
Super
solution.
clean.
So
Yeah.
I kind of want to button up this piece. If you're decorating with single color graphics, what I would recommend doing is look for a heat transfer that is silicone based or is built with a special dye blocking adhesive, right? And so that's really what we're going to move into next.
Nice.
On our next piece is a dye blocking adhesive. And so before we get into
one of
that,
my favorites.
yeah, talk about this
Yeah,
piece.
so this is the Adidas A498. This is the diamond dot printed polo. And what's unique about this is printed polos are all the rage, and it really skews a bit younger, but it also appeals to the older crowd, right? But Adidas has done a great job here. It comes in 4 different colorways, and it's just a popular piece.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of different age demographics
Yeah.
and markets that would want to wear this. It is challenging to decorate.
Yes.
And so you can't just take the heat transfer that you're putting on a traditional, cotton piqué sort of polo or even 100% polyester non-sublimated polo and expect to decorate this. You're going to decorate them, and then you're going to have a lot of cost because the print's going to be bleeding through. And so silicone, the same silicone transfer that I just used in a number, we can cut a logo and decorate on this. But I want to show you what happens when I have more colors in a company's logo. How are we going to do that? So let's get this loaded on first.
Sure.
A couple different ways I can approach a polo, and we've done this on the Decoration Myth episodes before, but I want to show again that I love this heat press pillow because that allows me to kind of get a view of the whole garment, right? And so we see how we loaded that on. And I do a little trick here, and I'll just kind of unbutton.
Yeah.
And I will protect the buttons with the fabric.
Okay.
Right, and because I'm using a pillow, I don't need to worry. These buttons are going to sink down right in. This one's off of the edge, so I'm just going to leave that button.
So you're unbuttoning and then laying the fabric over.
Yeah, and it sinks right down in. And so even when you're preheating, which I'm going to do to check my pressure more than anything, I'm going to use this cover sheet because I don't want it bleeding up onto the press. And so I need to adjust my pressure back a little bit. So it's pressing something without the pillow on it last time, right? And so I've added the thickness. So I need to adjust that pressure back. There is a pressure readout on this Hotronix auto clam that we're working with, which makes my life easier. But here's really what I want to show you. So you can see 3 colors in this logo. Now, looks pretty standard, but when you turn it over, we have our charcoal-based adhesive. Okay,
Nice.
so you're actually having a black adhesive, and when you're working with the black adhesive, that's going to block the sublimated dyes from coming through the print.
Very cool.
So if you tried to use this product, this transfer, without the charcoal-based adhesive, you definitely would get bleeding and you wouldn't like the result. But because of this charcoal-based adhesive, I can have the confidence to just position that in place.
And that can be ordered through you guys, and it's just something to look for.
Yeah, and so let me give you the name of it. It's called CAD Prints Sublistop. Okay,
Oh, nice.
So sublimation stopping,
Stop.
right? And so it's right in the name. And so same thing, we just covered it, and then we're going to, it's nice if you have the cover sheet a little bit bigger. I have to line this one straight up because it's the exact size of my print. Again, we're just going to lock it down. The cool thing about the Sublistop product is you can actually break it down and heat press it in 2 applications. So I limit the time under the heat. I can press it for 5 seconds, peel the backing really quick, cover it back up, and then press it for another 5 seconds with the cover sheet. And that craft paper that's covering it kind of mats up the finish a little bit, gives me a nice clean look. And so it also helps me from scorching and damaging my fabric. Now, you're not seeing any of the print transfer because it was only on there for 5 seconds, but I promise you, over time, it would bleed through the print, so you want to be careful.
So back to the paper, though, like when you start to see that stuff migrate into that, how often should you turn that out? Immediately when you see it? Should you exchange a new paper, or can you?
So it depends. It depends on how frugal you are. If you're seeing this print and I'm running a dozen of these and I'm transferring to the same shirt, there's not a whole lot of white areas where I'm going to notice if that navy transfers over into a lighter color. But if I were doing something like the white shirt we were dealing with, I'd be switching cover sheets every time because it just presents risk of damaging a really high-end, expensive garment.
Nice.
So check out that finished result. Has a really nice look, a really nice feel to it.
Super smooth.
Yeah, so that's CAD Print Sublistop.
That's very clean. Yeah. I mean, the logo just jumps out on that sublimated print. It's It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I want to run just a little bit more technical for our viewers that may have a solvent or eco-solvent print cut machine at home. This is a product you can actually buy on a roll. It's a printable heat transfer vinyl. It comes built in with that charcoal adhesive, and that allows you to print on demand full color logos, right?
Wow.
And so we can print cut. If you have that equipment, like a Roland VersaCam is one brand. A lot of people will have those printers for banners and sign graphics. There's actually heat transfer media like Sublistop that you can print and create your own transfer with.
Just loaded.
Yeah.
Got all the options, all the accessories.
Yeah, now
We're ready to go.
the last thing, and this just gives you another way. What we like
Sure.
to do here on Decoration Myths is give you different ways to solve common problems. And these Burnside shorts may bleed. Will they? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take the time to elevate the piece and guard against the potential bleeding. Now, they are not sublimated. You can see it's just a standard polyester. But because of the unique construction of these,
Sure.
I'm a little worried that they would bleed. And so I'm going to actually heat apply a flock product.
Nice.
And so while I load these on, talk to me a little bit about this style.
So this sort, it's a comfort stretch. So it gives you a lot of give. It's got 10% spandex in it. And these are actually designed to be like a hybrid short, right? So in and out of the water, quick drying. So, that'll be the first question on the transfer. How long is that going to last? If you're using it in, let's say, a coastal area where you've got to be versatile, or if you're on a boat or however, you're leading your day. But these are super comfortable shorts from Burnside. Has a nice zippered pocket in the back. And so, what do you got going here?
Yeah, I love these. So this is our soft flock decoration. So we're adding a little texture, a little dimension. These shorts scream, quality and high end to me. And so I want to do something a little bit different than just a flat transfer.
Okay.
And so I'm adding the texture of the flock, elevates the piece. Also the thickness of the flock, the dimension of it, guards against that standard bleeding or migration
Sure.
that I could have. And so I know I'm going to have a nice high end quality results. You'll notice I just laid the shorts right on top of the heat press pillow.
Mm-hmm.
All the seams sink down in, and that gives me that nice pressing surface. And so I can just press on these ones. It is a hot peel.
So awesome.
Yeah, and I've completed the look, in seconds.
That just elevated this piece, right? Because it's slightly raised. You've got your birdies, which we probably don't shoot a lot of those, but
No.
yeah. But I just love it. And, and you're being preventative. Just in case it does bleed through, you've got a thicker transfer.
Yeah, because look, what I'm going to recommend is if you're getting into a lot of unique constructions and you really want to specialize, testing is always the best method. Buy a pair of everything that you want to decorate it with a bunch of different styles so you know the decorations that will work and work well. But some cases, you just want to do the job. You don't want to do a whole bunch of testing. So we've given you this technique. Use a thicker heat transfer material. Elevates the look, not a whole lot more cost in the logo to do it that way, especially in a small logo, and the quality and the outcome is going to be a lot higher. I also noticed, I was reading the tag of these, quick drying, fade resistance against chlorine and salt water, and UV protection. So a lot going on here.
Exactly.
And so we want to make sure we pick a heat transfer product that's going to match and last in those conditions as well.
As usual, you've nailed it. I mean, we've just gone through some great products. All the products you saw today will be listed below in the links. But I mean, this is always, it's fun. And dye migration, all these worries, we busted another myth.
Yeah, and so it's not that it can't get you, but if you know the right technique, you have the right education, there are products out there on the market that can address all of these challenges so you can approach this confidently and honestly create separation between you and your competitor who isn't watching Decoration Myth, understanding how to decorate these fabrics, right?
I love it. So thank you, Josh, again, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much.